Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And today, we've got another really interesting combination to try out. And it's one that might work out, it might not, I don't know. I think it's going to come down to the shell more so than the actual shotgun setup, since we've seen some kind of mediocre results with these before. But who knows? This could be the perfect setup and combination for them to really perform. With being how expensive these shells are, so far, they've been a little bit of a letdown. But we're going to try them through today's setup to see what we can get out of them. But as for the shell we've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Winchester Double X buckshot loads. These ones are a 12 gauge, 3.5 inch, 15 pellet load of double up buck, moving about 1450 feet per second. So definitely a high velocity, hard hitting 3.5 inch buckshot shell. And I will say, these are probably some of the hardest recoiling 12 gauge shells that you can go buy off the store shelf. They absolutely will hammer your shoulder. But for all the extra recoil, they haven't really given us anything outstanding as far as pattern performance goes. And for being, I think, $25 or $26 for a box of 5, that's like $5 and change around. They really haven't lived up to what I was hoping they would. So maybe they might do something better through today's combination. I don't know, but that's the hope. But as for the setup we've got out here today to run them through, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag, but I threw in this choke. Now this is the stock Mossberg 710 turkey full choke that this gun came with. Now these 835s are an overboard shotgun. They are overboard to roughly about 10 gauge bore size. So in the choke constrictions for this shotgun, a 710 would roughly equal out to an extra full in a normal 12 gauge. We've tried them through the stock full in this gun. We've even run them through a 680 turkey choke. So this 710 is kind of right in between. So will it be the perfect constriction for them? That remains to be seen. Either way, even though this is a turkey choke, it's not absolutely ridiculous for what these shells are, and it will absolutely do the job. It's just how well is it going to pattern? That's the question. But as for the test today, everything is the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper set up at 40 yards. I've also got the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of them. So we'll get you guys a view of the target. We'll take the shot, look at the chrono, and then go down and look at our results. But let's go over here and take the shot and just see what kind of a pattern it's actually able to give us. Okay, so that shell gave us 1424 through the chrono. The boss claims 1450, so we are a little bit below their claim, but still right within the realm of reason. But 1424 for a load of double-aught buck, that is getting up and moving on out. That's straight up waterfowl shell territory. So in my opinion, it's probably a little bit too fast for double-aught buck, but hey, if it patterns well, then what does it really matter, I suppose. But how well did it actually pattern? Let's go down to the target and see what we actually got. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And I gotta say that, yeah, it looks pretty much what I expected to see. Kind of middle of the road. We do have all 15 pellets actually on the paper, but as you can see, we've got a pretty decent spread of them here, that's for sure. And speaking of spread, I did measure it, and at 40 yards, the two widest pellets apart are at 31 inches, and that is that top left pellet and that very bottom pellet down there. So 31 inches at 40 yards, definitely not super impressive as for a spread. And once again, just like those Remington shells through that Mossberg 500 that we tried, we have very little core area. I think the pattern is pretty centered up on the paper, if not just a touch high. Maybe. We have no pellets right around our point of aim right there. There is a big giant hole in the pattern. That's not really what I want to see, a big giant hole in the middle of your pattern. So initially here, it's not the worst pattern we've seen, but it's far from the best as well. It's not going to compete with a flight control buckshot shell, that's for sure. But I guess let's throw a couple templates up here and just see what it would have looked like in some more realistic, real life type of scenarios. Okay, so here's our 10-inch circle, and if we line that up with our point of aim, we have 3 pellets within a 10-inch circle, which is on the very bottom end of average. 4 pellets, maybe 5 pellets seems to be about what the average is, and you can clearly see that we have a lot of space in that 10-inch core area. That whole top half of the circle has nothing in it, which really shows that big hole in the middle of the pattern that I was looking at earlier. So, I don't know. 3 pellets in a 10-inch circle, that's vital sized area. It would be good enough, but definitely it's not going to win any looks test, and that hole in the middle is not at all what I want to see. But let's throw a deer template up to see what it would have looked like if you would have taken this particular shot on a deer out in the field. Okay, and here's that deer template, and if we line it up with the point of aim there, we can really see the big hole in the middle of the pattern. Sure, you would have about 7 pellets on this deer, and at the very least, these 3 or 4 down here at the bottom would have gotten vitals, plus you had one right up through the middle of the neck up there. So yeah, you would have absolutely gotten that deer, there's no doubt about it. But that is kind of cutting it close a little bit for me. If you were just a little bit lower on your shot on this one, you might not have actually come home with that deer, or you would have had to track him for a long ways. But let's throw the hog template up there real quick just to see if it's a different story or not. For those of you that hunt hogs down there in the south, I think it's going to show us pretty much the same thing, but we'll throw it up there and take a quick look at it. Okay, so here's that hog template, and yeah, on one hand, it's pretty much the same story. Pellets are in about the same spot, but as you can see on a hog, you have an even more prominent void area right there in the middle. I think you probably still would have gotten that hog, but as tough as they are, he probably would have ran a good ways on you. And that is really cutting it close. So yeah, again, I think that it is a little bit disappointing, which has been the running theme with these shells. They're just good enough to get the job done for you and nothing more. And this one might even be more borderline than what we had seen previously, which is not at all a good thing and not what I want to see out of them, that's for sure. Alright, y'all. Well, what did you think about those results right there? Definitely a little disappointing. I mean, it's not the worst pattern we've seen. It's far from the best as well. And that big hole in the middle of the pattern does not help us out one bit. And honestly, that's kind of the results that I was expecting to get. And for the cost and the extra recoil and stuff, these just haven't been worth it for me, in my opinion. But as always, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested these shells or hunted with these shells or anything like that? And if so, what has been your results out of them? And maybe there's another choke combo that you might want to see these run through that might change the story with these. I doubt it, but you never know. But let me know all that down below. Either way, another pretty disappointing looking pattern overall for these shells, which definitely isn't all that surprising, to be honest with you. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.